Hi, everyone. Mara Evenstar here. I have a message to spread, to bring out into the world. But first, I want to talk a little bit about the shop. I'm going to do this here at the beginning. So for those of you that are curious about what's going on with Evenstar's Chalice, I'll tell you that first, and then you can bail if that's what you're here for. And if not, please stay on and hang with me for a few moments as I talk about some messages that have been coming through. So the shop. So right now, here we are in mid-July. Or mid-June. I'm skipping ahead now. Here we are in mid-June. Right now at the shop, we're at about half hours. We're open about half the hours that we used to be. We are doing that for a couple of reasons, and we're also at limited capacity. So we have a limited number of 6 guests in the store at any time, helping us to keep our overall number under 10. We are regularly disinfecting, and we're doing what we can to help keep everybody safe. We are hoping, and we're going to be watching the numbers and see how everyone seems to be feeling about things, but we are hoping that after the 4th of July weekend, we're going to be able to open back up to full capacity. That's like our full hours, and also begin offering some of our services again so that our readers can come back in and our healers can come back in and we can get back into full swing. I imagine we're still going to need to control capacity so that we can keep the loving distance that needs to be kept within the shop. And so, yeah, let's do this all together. I know people are, they're even pushing for us to, to be open the hours that we're not, but we're going to do this in a way that feels like we can breathe and that we can breathe through this. So we have been so happy to reconnect with familiar faces coming in. And please check the website for the hours that we are open now, and we will then make further announcement. And then also the week after that 4th of July weekend, the week of the 10th through the 12th, it's our 3rd anniversary. So we're going to be doing our anniversary sales like we normally do. And we'll be having store-wide sales. We'll be having some giveaways. Because of the nature of the COVID, I don't know if we'll be doing some of the events like we did do before, because we really need to be able to watch for how many people are in the store at one time. So we're going to feel into that as well. But definitely, we will be celebrating and we will be having sales. Okay, so that's where we are with the shop. We'll also be making an exciting announcement. I'll give you a little slip preview. We're going to be formally launching Evenstar Institute. And so that's going to be the arm of our business that's going to do the programming and classes and things like that. And so more to come on that. All right. Okay, so I don't know how you've been sleeping through the pandemic, through the shutdown, through all of these things, but overall, my sleep patterns have been interrupted a lot. And often I'm getting woken up in the middle of the night with messages coming through. And this one came 2 nights ago. And there's not really anything new, earth-shattering, maybe not even what you haven't already heard coming through this message, but it did feel important to share it. And, getting those nudges, because perhaps someone has some new ears, or perhaps there's some way that I'm going to say this that is going to help you in some way or open you in some way as we're doing. So I really wanted to speak a little bit about these times that we are in, and from an expanded perspective, from kind of an evolutionary perspective of where we're at. And, these are incredibly intense times. They're incredibly intense times. And all the feelings that we could have, we're experiencing great joys and great trauma and great sorrow and great loss. And it's all there in the mix. And it seems to be happening at an accelerated rate. And it seems to be happening, with a lot of intensity. And what I wanted to bring through about what is happening here is that, yes, these are intense times, but they are necessary times. I've spent a lot of my adult life actually studying transformation and understanding the process of transformation and the process of evolution and how we grow and change. And this, my dears, is a necessary part of what we are going through in order to shift and break through into ways of being where we can be more connected, more loving, more supportive. And it may not look like it right now, but that's where we're headed. We really are headed that way. I have a lot of faith in that. You know, and whether or not you give any stock in astrology, these times are written in the stars. They are written in some of our sacred texts. They are written or spoken through indigenous prophecies and through modern day mystics and channels. They're written on our hearts and our souls. And we have to love one another through this. We have to love one another through this. This is great change. We are living in the great shift. And so, you know, hold on to yourselves and hold on to one another as we move through this. Because all of the great issues of our time that we are experiencing, none of these are really new issues. They are issues that are coming to a head. They are coming to a tipping point. All of these issues that we are experiencing right now, they're all interrelated. They're all interdependent. All of these, Black Lives Matter, Me Too, our climate crisis, food, all of these things are interrelated. And they come back to one of the source problems, which is that our disconnection, our sense of separation. So we have disconnected from source, whatever that may be to you, but we are disconnected from the source of who we are and where we come from. We're disconnected from one another. We're disconnected from our land, the land that sustains us, that we live on. So we have all this sense of separateness and otherness. And this is one of the core issues that shows up in the symptoms of oppression. And all of the isms that we have in this world are symptoms of this great separation that we are feeling. So one of the issues that I wanted, that was really coming through, that I wanted to speak to a little bit, is really looking at this from this view of our nation. So this nation, America, the United States. So I've never really thought of myself as a particular patriotic person, certainly not in the terms of how it's come to be seen and mean and what it means today. But I do know that I have a deep love for this land, and I have a deep love for this country, and I have a deep love for the ideals of this country. Much of my own personal work is around freedom and sovereignty and moving into these spaces. But what I think happens is that, you know, especially when emotions are so high, that until we are all free, none of us are truly free. Until we are all free, none of us are truly free. You can't be free if your freedom is built on systems of oppression and marginalization. This is not freedom. And we've never had it. We've never had that kind of freedom. Freedom that people are like, I'm fighting for this freedom, and this is, you know, and we are free and we're great. Well, we have never had that freedom because we're not all free. Only some of us have felt like we have that freedom and created stories and protections around it. And so we're not all free until we're all free. These ideals of freedom and democracy, they're ideals. We haven't had them yet. We're working toward them. If we allow one another to do it, right? If we can work for all these isms that we have, we hold one another in bondage. We are holding one another in bondage with all of these isms. And this is what we're trying to break through. We're trying to break through into a space where there's a chance. There's a chance for these ideals, for the seeds for these ideals to begin to take sprout and to begin to be nurtured and cultivated in a way that comes from a place of wholeness and comes from a place of reconciliation and comes from a place of understanding, right? And especially, I want to speak especially to white folks right now in this moment. We must lose our innocence in this. We have to lose this sense of entitlement. We have to lose this sense of exceptionalism and protection. We have to come face to face. We have to face what was and how we got here and what is truly happening right now so that we can all move forward together. This is critical. This is critical. We have to let go. We have to let go. And that doesn't mean that you're going to lose everything. It doesn't even necessarily mean you're going to lose anything. There is so much to gain by letting go and breathing and being able to step into true sovereignty. One that doesn't depend on someone else bearing the burden. Someone else bearing the burden for others to feel like they're free. There's just so much alive right now. The collective pain body is really activated. And so what this is doing, though, it's also activating a lot of action and a lot of awakening and a lot of like, oh my goodness, right? And the fire is there. The fire is alive. And there's also, a great urgency or a feeling of, getting involved and maybe even judging others because we don't believe that they are getting involved enough. But I'm here to tell you, you're alive during this time, you are involved. It's not about getting involved. You are involved. I'm not saying you shouldn't do anything. I'm not saying that at all. I am saying whether or not your soul is asleep on the couch watching TV, you are involved because you are here, you are alive, and you are participating in these systems, whoever you are. You are participating in these systems, and you are participating in this great awakening. And so it's for you to feel into what is your piece, what's your original medicine, what is your role. And maybe your role is to get out of the way. Maybe your role is to pray. Maybe your role is to activate and to advocate and to act on behalf of and to protest and to resist. Maybe your role is to set the world on fire, literally, destructively. All of these are necessary. In this time, all of this is necessary. In finding our peace, our PIECE, as well as our PEACE, in finding our peace, we must build it on a foundation of love. This is what's going to source us, is this love and this knowing, because it's our heart pulling toward this thing that we know is better. So we can stop killing one another. We can take care of one another. You are connected. You're interconnected. Those that you think are ignorant and asleep, you're connected to them. Those who are in pain and suffering, you're connected to them. They're part of the one heart, part of the one essence. You're connected to the squirrels in your backyard. You know, you're connected. So do your inner work. Find your unique medicine. Find your peace and build your peace on a foundation of love. Be a living presence of love. Root out the untruths and the violence that's in your own heart. Because as within, so without. As above, so below. This much I know we are each responsible for. Because out of this love, out of this profound love, and out of this knowing that this love is moving us back toward connection and knowing of our interconnectedness, out of this love can come social equity and justice. For those who've been oppressed and marginalized, those forced to carry the burdens and the cost of our American mirage of freedom and progress and it also builds the foundation for healing for the very ecosystems in which, we cannot live. We cannot live without a healthy planet. As a species, we're not going to survive. Millions of species are already going extinct. We must understand how deeply connected all of these things are, especially these ideas of the body. Speak a lot about the divine feminine, but that of the body. We take out this inner violence, and America's a very violent society, an incredibly violent culture. We take this out on the bodies of women, children, and especially people of color bear the brunt of this. We take it out on the earth and the landscape itself. We must understand that these are parts of ourselves to which we're doing violence. This is the core for the shift. This is the core understanding that needs to come through. The movement of evolution, as I've studied, kind of moves like DNA, right? And it's an ever undulating movement between what I call agency and differentiation. So if you can look at it as a movement of like the independent self, right? The self that wants to be different and unique and separate from. So that level of differentiation, like growing into the most complex, unique being possible. Individuation, right? And our culture is very much focused on individuation, on me. What's in it for me? What can I do? How can I shine? What can I have? Individuation. What are my gifts? Right? But the movement always has to come back into communion with the other, right? Because you're in relationship with the world around you. And so there needs to come this point of integration, differentiation, bringing it into a level of integration with community. And then you sit until then that also comes out of balance. And then the individuation movement begins again. Of course, all of this is happening on an individual level. in different areas. It's happening on a collective level as we come together. And what we do know is where we've gotten incredibly out of balance is we've gone way too far out on the individuation. And we've almost spiraled out of the spiral completely. We haven't brought it back in to come back into communion, to touch stone in, to come back into relationship and right relationship with all other things that we are connected to before making the movement outward again. So it's almost like we're spiraling off. These movements that you're seeing now, this movement, this call toward this cry of pain that is happening, is to bring it back into communion, to come back so that we can integrate and we can come from a place that's more developed than where we began to spin off, because we're coming back in at a higher level. We're coming back in at a higher level. So don't move into despondency that, oh, we've tried this before and we've done this before and nothing's going to get better. We're different now. You're different every moment. We are different now. We can do this. And we may not solve it all because this happens. This keeps happening. This keeps happening. This keeps happening, right? But right now is our opportunity to come together into a level of integration that can actually move our whole culture forward in a way toward actually something that will support and can support that individual freedom. So that's what's going on from this larger picture, from my mind and from what comes through my mind and through me in the middle of the night, speaking to these larger movements of connection that needs to happen. And so I leave you with this, and I hope, well, I guess I can't hope. I just know that I was supposed to speak this piece, and now I have, and let it land where it may. And I'm going to continue to hold space, hold love as much as I can for my nation, for my community, and for self, so that we can move through this in ways that honor and respect. Mostly, though, that get us to understand how connected we are. And that if you do something to someone, you're doing it to yourself. And if you do something for someone, you're doing it for yourself. This is the way this works. I hope you all have a blessed rest of your day. And I'll leave you now, and I hope to see you soon.